It's just a float, you scaredy cat.
That irrepressible flying flamethrower is back in Spyro Enter the Dragonfly. This time, he's out to recover the source of all dragon magic, the dragonflies, stolen after the Year of the Dragon Festival. And if you can find out who stole them and why, then that would be good as well.
Good work, Spyro. Use the stones to get to the dojo. Remember, Spyro, find the dragonflies before Ripto.
Spyro gets himself some stylish new talents for his outing, including the knack of using various breath weapons. Not only can he spit fire, but now he can also spew forth ice, lightning, and some cute little bubbles that come in handy when he's solving puzzles. Spyro is due to wing his way onto the shelves by the end of November, just in time for Christmas. Based on the hit TV series from James Cameron, Dark Angel is set in post-Pulse Seattle.
The Pulse brought the nation to its knees. In the fear and weakness that followed, the military began aggressively researching new types of weapons. Weapons that would forever change humanity. I was one of those weapons. Created in a lab, raised as a soldier. Fearless and lethal. I and others like me escaped our prison, and so I live in this post-Pulse world.
The Pulse was a cataclysmic electromagnetic pulse that fried all the computers in the US and knocked the country into a desperate, dark, cyberpunk setting. The mission-based action features intense hand-to-hand fighting, unique evasive moves, stealth, and enhanced vision. There's an original storyline and the voices have been supplied by the actual stars, Jessica Alba and Michael Weatherly.
Trying to understand who I am and how I can belong.
Evolution Skateboarding is setting out to put the extreme in extreme sports. Not only do you have to prove your pro skating and tricking skills throughout 8 sprawling fantasy levels, each of which is at least 200% larger than those of any previous Konami skateboarding titles, but you'll also have to match your talents against a series of ferocious boss encounters. Never before have skateboarders had to contend with giant spiders or massive runaway trucks. And if you're not impressed with the content provided, then there's still plenty of scope to expand, thanks to the impressive in-game design tools. Create not only your own skaters, but your own tricks and stunts as well. So now you have no excuse for not looking your best while showing off. Evolution Snowboarding is Konami's other extreme boarding title, providing a lavish mix of stunning aesthetics and varied gaming styles. Game modes include a career of races and challenges, or trying your talents in a series of exciting missions, including chases, running battles, and maneuvering through all manner of unlikely and exotic locations. There are 10 real riders here, including 2002 Winter Olympic silver medalist Danny Klaas, and all of them have been faithfully recreated, along with their signature moves and expertise. The action comes fast and furious, with plenty of dramatic stunts and tricks, and everything else any self-respecting snowboarding title should have. Just the thing for the winter months.
The eradication of the last son of Krypton.
How do you like that, Superman?
How do you like this, Metallo?
This has really been the year for superheroes, and now it's Clark Kent's turn with Superman: Shadow of Apocalypse. Boasting a multi-layered storyline co-written with DC Comics, this one is complemented with a full orchestral soundtrack. True to the moralistic do-gooder nature of this particular spandex-clad icon, a major part of the game is prioritizing your various acts of daring do. Should you repair the damage caused by the villains, battle the bad guys before they threaten innocent bystanders, rescue the civilians from impending doom, or help out Lois Lane? Sega's latest tennis extravaganza has been suffering from some serious multiple personality disorder. Known as Power Smash 2, Sega Sports Tennis 2002, or simply as Virtua Tennis 2, this fantastic court sim provides the signature pick-up and play controls of the original Virtua Tennis game, combined with some stunningly realistic player models and incredibly detailed venues. Features include a World Tour mode, various mini-games, addictive 4-player doubles, and 16 internationally ranked men and women stars, such as Thomas Enqvist, Tim Henman, Cedric Pierlin, the Williams sisters, Yelena Dokic, and Lindsay Davenport. And if none of these players satisfies you, then you can create your own hopeful and lead them onto the road of stardom. Shinobi is finally coming to PS2, signifying the rebirth of this long-running series with next-generation graphics and increased gameplay freedom. Left to avenge his clan after a sinister force is awakened, Hotsuma must confront demons from his past and defend his role as leader of the Orobo clan. The new combat techniques allow you to attack multiple enemies in quick succession, run along walls, scale buildings, and perform multiple attacks. You can even use the new forms of ninja magic to create ghost-like apparitions to confuse your enemies before attacking with the lightning-quick Tate, in which your blade moves so fast the victims don't even realize they've been struck until they fall to their death. Stylish. Red Dead Revolver takes us into the heart of the savage, rough-and-tumble days of the American West. A hard-working homestead family are attacked and killed by desperados. The lone survivor is a boy named Red, who's adopted by an Indian who teaches him the ways of survival. Years later, a mysterious gunfighter appears in town, and the lawless begin to fear for their lives. And with Red having access to a cache of Western artillery, along with the opportunity to ride and fight on horses, show off his gunfighter skills, utilize his stealth training, and use hand-to-hand techniques, there's a good reason for the outlaws to be afraid. Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 4 is a totally different experience to last year's Skate Down. For starters, you're presented with a level, no time limit, and a series of challenges to take on, or ignore as you desire. So immediately the feel of the game is totally different. There's no imperative to do anything at all other than practice your grinds and ramp work if you so desire. This open-ended structure has given the developer a lot more room to play about with the challenges, and the levels are now noticeably more realistic. Yes, there are still those puzzling buffoons who have lost their letters, but most of the boarding tests are all new, all different, and all hard. There's a lot more variation in the environments too, but this sadly makes it a lot harder to really enjoy the skating experience, and for the most part, half-pipes have been replaced by more real-world trickable features. Tony Hawk 4 is a highly polished and highly playable game. The levels look awesome, the game is bigger and more of a challenge than Tony 3. But we still think Tony's third outing is a better game. We'd rather skate Tony 3's smaller, more enjoyable levels than Tony 4's bigger, tougher and less fun environments. But if you're a Tony Hawk fan, you'll love the extra difficulty and the whole new range of challenges, which make Tony Hawk's 4 an essential purchase for die-hard skaters. Amongst the goodies provided with Metal Gear Solid 2 Substance are over 200 VR missions. Set in a computer-generated world, these unreal white-walled scenarios vary depending on which character you choose to play. Each of the missions focus on a particular element of the gameplay, allowing you to perfect your techniques and rack up the highest scores you can. Sneaking mode allows you to experience the core challenge of evading detection. Select past all of the enemy patrols and you're on to the next stage, whilst Eliminate All is much more basic by comparison, with the goal only appearing here once you've taken out all the opposing forces. Weapon mode provides practice with all the weapons from Sons of Liberty. Prove your skill with the handgun, assault rifle, explosives, grenades, PSG-1, Stinger, Nikita and even the blade. Although Snake still prefers to use his unarmed skill rather than worry himself with such cumbersome melee weapons. The first-person mode gives you a new perspective on the MGS setting, challenging you to leave behind the traditional third-person view and complete level after level in the first-person shooter-style experience. And finally, there's the variety mode, setting you a number of special training missions under various conditions. Here you can experience a completely different Metal Gear Solid. The setting seems strange with the simplified scenery and the artificial nature of the assignments. But since this is all supposed to be an immersive simulation generated by a computer, the content of the missions is spot on. Just get in there and show us what you can do. As you are no doubt aware, Vivendi and Electronic Arts are releasing 2 Lord of the Rings games. Here we take a look at the Fellowship of the Ring. That's the Vivendi one for those trying to keep up.
The Dark Lord Sauron forged the One Ring to enslave all elves, dwarves, and men of Middle-earth.
This one is based solely on the first of the 3 books that make up Tolkien's magnum opus, and provides locations such as the Shire, the river, and the mines of Moria. We're even promised such elusive legends as Tom Bombadil. There are 8 levels, mainly centred on the Baggins boy Frodo, with Aragorn and Gandalf stepping in for some of the more heavy-duty action. And with 28 different enemies, you can be sure that there's plenty of that. Frodo the Hobbit is the central character.
Hello, young Baggins. I have found these herbs for you. Oh, marvellous. Thank you, Frodo.
And his shtick is to muck around with the most terrifying artifact in Middle-earth. Just slip on the One Ring and you'll vanish from sight. The only side effect being the constant drain on your health and the attention of the all-seeing eye of the Dark Lord, Sauron himself. But don't let that worry you. Aragorn, or the Ranger formerly known as Strider, is the hard hitter of the trio, being perfectly capable of turning orcs and their kind into mincemeat with a few swift sword blows. And since Legolas is on vacation, he even feels more inclined to show off with the bow as well. And finally, there's Gandalf. Mr. the Grey appears to have developed a decently militant attitude, and quickly puts pay to the marauding hordes with fireballs, lightning attacks, and all sorts of fun spells. He even manages to get up close and personal for a bit of sword play. You shouldn't meddle in the affairs of wizards, for they are subtle and quick to anger.
But who can bear the ring?
name based purely on the second part of the Lord of the Rings trilogy, the Two Towers actually draws on the stories, locations and characters from the first two films, or books depending on how you look at it.
Kill them all!
The gameplay spans the story of the first two films and based around some of the most awesome film sequences ever created. Every detail imaginable has been crammed in to closely match Middle-earth's most dramatic set pieces. Each of the three playable characters has specific weapons as portrayed in the films. Aragorn uses his sword and has his bow as a ranged weapon. Movie fans will definitely be tempted here by the inclusion of all new film footage and locations ahead of the film's Christmas release.
This forest is old. Very old. It's full of memory. And anger.
Gimli uses his two-bladed axe and also has throwing axes for ranged opportunities.
Now coming.
Legolas primarily uses his bow, but has elven fighting knives for melee combat. Like the films, the game is focused on a third-person action-adventure experience. The game features dramatic camera views of the action within fully 3D interactive environments, taken straight from the big screen. The RPG-style system also allows you to develop each character by purchasing new moves, basic combo attacks, and more complex killing sequences. And the system works well by encouraging players to be strategic with their selection of characters, weaponry, and moves. You have to admire the technical feat achieved here. Dozens of characters on screen at once in some highly detailed environments. Unfortunately, the overall play does degenerate into mindless button bashing at times, with a wave of battling monsters followed by another, and another, and another. But the inclusion of boss character levels works well in saving it from the brink of tedium. Quite simply, it's quality hack and slash through and through. It's what we expected, and it's what the fans wanted. Sony's original World Rally Championship monopolised our time with cars that simply refused to point in a straight line. Not because of the fiendishly challenging courses, but because the handling was far too sensitive and fundamentally wrong. Thankfully, Evolution Studios have managed to transform a game that was frustratingly uncontrollable at times into something beautifully responsive. All of those overcompensating irritations have been replaced by a feel that leaves you under no illusion that the car is totally under your control at all times. 14 rallies from across the globe deliver some of the most devilishly challenging courses, and once you've mastered the snapping sequences of twists and turns in the Mitsubishi Evos and Subaru Imprezas, WRC2 Extreme reveals the true reason for his extended moniker and unleashes the bonus extreme motors. These monstrous beasts are a max power nut's dream. With full testosterone-oozing body kits and far too much power under the hood, they're a handful for even the most experienced mud-skipping master at the best of times. But WRC2 Extreme's expertise lies in providing the player with just about everything the World Rally Championship has to offer. Play the game on the hardest difficulty setting, where damage plays a key role, discretions are penalised and your rivals' times are blindingly quick, and you get to experience the full extent of the 3-day rally experience. But from the minute you first set eyes on WRC2 Extreme, you'll be entranced by its gorgeous visuals. The locations are easily the most picturesque settings ever to grace PS2. Chuck some expertly moulded dream racing cars into these surroundings, and you've got a genuine rival to Gran Turismo as the best looking driving game on PS2. One of the biggest games of last year is back for a fantastic sequel, and it's bigger, better, and more explosive than ever. Devil May Cry 2 brings us an older, wiser, and more capable Dante, now joined by gorgeous new red-headed companion Lucia. Dante still favours combinations of guns and swords, but his attacks are now even more explosive, with moves including backflips and the ability to run along walls. And Lucia's not a bad mover either. The one thing that concerns us about this new look is the insistence on using the now hackneyed Matrix slow-motion spin effect. Okay, we were impressed when we first saw it, but it's really getting old now. Devil May Cry 2 may boast bigger locations, moves and stories, not to mention the inclusion of Dante's attractive new companion. But has it got what it takes to wow us a second time? Only time will tell. Having extolled the virtues of The Getaway and telling you what an amazing job it's done of recreating London, we thought we'd put the theory to the test. So, armed with a video camera, a map and a packed lunch, we went on safari into the depths of the capital. As you'd expect, our first stop was down into the depths of Soho, where we found the alley to be there just as promised. That much is fine, but the game's lack of shady characters just misses out on a lot of the atmosphere. We quickly moved on before being mugged. Back on safer ground in Oxford Street, we find the shops just as shown, right down to the traffic lights. Heading south again, Mr. Wu's is still offering the same deals and Chinatown is pretty much there. Then it's on to Piccadilly Circus, where we risk a life and limb in the middle of the road, only to discover clowns on stilts that have been criminally admitted from the game. Leicester Square is looking good, but if you try driving through here in real life, you're guaranteed a higher body count than the game might suggest. South once more, and we're in Trafalgar Square, where the game's designers carelessly admit the extensive roadworks. Otherwise, the whole place is beginning to look pretty familiar. East, and we're into Covent Garden, looking a fair match for its virtual self. And finally, we take a walk along Embankment, past Cleopatra's Needle and Big Ben, then across to Waterloo, to risk our lives and our health to discover that everything down to the IMAX cinema appears to be in order. It's all there. The designers have really pulled out the stops with this one. So if you ever need to find your way around London, don't bother with maps and guides. Just play the getaway for a few minutes and you'll soon have your route worked out. Perhaps with less running people down though. There are some of these guys about too. Loved this game's predecessor, inevitably known as Formula 1 2001 when it appeared last summer. It was smooth, fast and faithful to its subject, but things have moved on since then. The increasingly boring sport is one of the most overrepresented on PS2, and to make things worse, the sequel is up against a slew of brilliant racing games with potentially more exciting action, such as Burnout 2, Toca Race Driver and Colin McRae Rally. So what's Formula 1 2002 offering to pull back the gap? For starters, the graphics engine has been overhauled, meaning that tracks and cars are far more detailed without affecting the game's speed. All the latest track changes have been implemented and options in arcade mode are expanded to include a tyre grip slider and self-repairing damage. Is also cleverer, so being spun out as you pass should be a frustration from the past. And if Studio Liverpool can create racing of toppest calibre with the graphical wonder promised, it could be onto a very good thing indeed. You may remember the Alpine Racer games from the arcades. They're the ones where you stand on skis in order to publicly humiliate yourself. But now, Alpine Racer 3 is coming in from the cold without the ski controller. It wouldn't fit in the box. To make up for this shortfall, there's a whole jumble of extra content, such as extra equipment and secret characters to unlock. But will it be enough to compete with the tough rivalry that inhabits PS2's snowy peaks? You start the game on skis, as you might expect, but the money you earn can be fed back into new kit. Most notably, you can soon come into possession of a groovy new snowboard. Just watch out, because you can lose money too. Just pick the kit you need, rather than going for the most expensive stuff every time. Otherwise, you might find a couple of mistakes running you into bankruptcy. Tricks also earn cash, although you don't control them. You just take off, sit back and watch. At least the dramatic camera angles and game cuts show off the characters and their moves well. The courses are all nicely designed, with plenty of alternative routes where finding the right shortcut can make all the difference. There are also some areas that are particularly good looking, with moving trains, avalanches, detailed buildings and attractive lighting and fog effects. On the other hand, there are some pretty bland moments as well.
Don't get stuck in a crevasse, okay? What a view! You're currently accessible. Man, that's narrow. Woo! The walls aren't looking very friendly.
Chapter 3 brings us a great blend of boards and skis with a focus on racing rather than tricking. But can it pull it off? We'll let you know soon.
Thank you, I love road too!
Long-haul truck drivers suffer from a terrible stereotype as aggressive, selfish, sexist, road-hogging Yorkie addicts, and Big Mother Truckers is doing everything it can to support this less than PC image.
Looking for adventure, and whatever comes our way.
You play as one of the Jackson family of hauliers, as thoroughbred a bunch of rednecks as you'll ever see. The main career mode has you trucking from city to city, trading cargo and racing your rival siblings along the way. The driving takes you through some great scenery, and the challenges include police, aggressive bikers and oncoming traffic. Handling is tricky, with your trailer swinging around like a drunken hippo. Go too fast and you'll jackknife, but thankfully the handling is far from sim-like. The radio stations are absolutely fantastic though. Besides the usual music channels, you just have to try tuning in to the brilliant Yeehaw FM, filled with local yokels and sidehicks, bringing you a hilarious montage of fried debates and phone-ins. It's almost a disappointment to reach town. Once in town, you have plenty of ways to waste your money. Bartenders give you hints as to what goods to take where, and garages allow you to repair and upgrade your 18-wheeler behemoth as well as customizing it as you see fit. But it would be nice to have a few more options here, just to keep things interesting. The other major mode is Mission Mode, which sets you a range of unconnected objectives, such as racing a donor heart to a hospital in a nearby city. This offers plenty more variety, but simply progresses with a successful mission unlocking the next one.
Get some motor running. Head out on the highway.
Big Mother Truckers plays nicely, looks great and sounds fantastic, but it lacks a certain something at the moment. Hopefully, this is a certain something that will be added for the final release.
Take the world in a love embrace. Fire all of your guns at once and explode into space.
Taking its place next to TOCA Race Driver comes Empire's Total Immersion Racing. And as it attempts to blend accurate physics, ease of use, and the now requisite storyline, it could be well worth some attention.
The race is on!
Aimed at the mainstream gamer, the controls are easy to pick up and use, but with some superbly accurate physics, thanks to Razorworks' history of designing precise helicopter sims. Casual players can also let the in-game race engineer tune their cars, whilst hardcore petrolheads can tinker manually to their heart's content. As demanded by the current fashion, there's a strong story element here. The career mode features a range of different characters, including an advisor, the aforementioned race engineer, and 10 rivals. Your rivals remember their history with you and have 5 emotional states that change throughout each race. If your driving is of the offensive variety, then be prepared to make enemies out on the tarmac and earn yourself a few grudge matches. An unusual aspect of the career mode is the option to play with 2 gamers. Simply save your data onto a memory card and load it up on a friend's machine to be able to compete in career mode together. Your individual accomplishments are saved and you can resume your career on your own or with another friend when you're done. There are 5 licensed tracks and 5 fictitious tracks, all of which present a different challenge depending on whether it's day or night, wet or dry, and they're all graphically impressive, as there are 18 licensed GT class cars. It's all looking very swish, but has Total Immersion Racing got what it takes? Will it hold its own against Topper Race Driver? We'll tell you as soon as we've had a thorough look under the bonnet.
Great racing! You're the winner!
Recent games like Burnout 2 have left us wanting plenty of large-scale destruction, but with something more to aim for than just being the first across the line. Fortunately, Reckless looks set to fill that need. Fresh from its success on Xbox last year and bringing us free rein to cause rush-hour pandemonium on traffic-clogged streets. The screen is cluttered with all manner of information, as well as flying lampposts, twisted railings, crumpled phone boxes, spinning cars, and terrified pedestrians. Proving that this has strong leanings towards the arcadiness of Crazy Taxi, rather than the more subtle handling of games like Driver. There are 2 separate storylines here. The first sees you playing 2 tightly attired female cops, hot on the trail of the Yakuza.
I'm gonna get you for this! You're not getting away from me!
Whilst the other has you working your way up through the underworld as one half of a pair of bungling wannabe spies.
Chubby Wubby, this is Hubby Dubby. Are you there?
Yeah, I'm here. You're not saying I look chubby in this, are you?
Destroy the armored car and get the goods.
The missions have a nice variety of objectives, and the way the 2 story arcs intertwine makes for a nice touch. Since each of the stories only has 10 missions, it's fortunate that there's plenty of replay value here as well. Apart from every mission having 2 difficulty settings, there are also plenty of sub-missions around, which allows you to unlock the secrets and the complete roster of over 25 vehicles. Then there are 7 multiplayer games as well, just to make sure you're well entertained. Reckless is chaotic and fun, with the mayhem of Crazy Taxi and the mission-based challenge of Driver. Providing an experience aimed squarely at the destructive lunatic in all of us.
You went inside the convention center? Specifically programmed not to move until I showed up.
The RoboCop movies have been around for some time, and despite begging for a decent game, we've yet to see anything really stirring. But this offering from Titus might just be the one to change all that.
This is the police. Drop all your weapons.
For the terminally uninformed, RoboCop started out as Alex Murphy, a cop who managed to get himself killed by a ruthless gang of organised hoodlums. Being the lucky guy that he is, he gets chosen to be the guinea pig for OCP's awesome new cyborg technology, which brings him back as an unstoppable policing machine. Has done an impressive job of bringing this aging agent to the modern era of 3D gaming. The atmosphere is all there, with some nice looking graphics as you explore the 8 extensive levels that make up crime-ridden Detroit. RoboCop boasts a variety of advantages over your average copper, with built-in radar, sniper zoom, and thermograph vision mode, along with a selection of 7 crime-busting weapons. But as a police officer, it's in your interest to protect and rescue civilians whilst bringing the criminals in alive if you can. For this reason, you also have an arrest and interrogate mode.
Say your prayers, Vol.
There are over 50 characters to interact with, and enemies include gangs, drug lords, rogue robots, the corrupt officials of OCP, and its central computer, Mind. And let's not forget the ubiquitous Ed 209. RoboCop's slow pace may be an issue for some, but there's a lot here that's going to keep fans of the license happy, even down to the newsreels between the missions, highlighting your antics or panning your failures. But will it be as good as the original movie or as dire as the last? We'll have to wait and see.
Say your prayers, Vol. Crime will not be tolerated. You have been warned.
Finally, after last year's false start, PS2 has a video game which aptly summarises all the glamour and thrills of the WWE experience. Firstly, and most importantly, the roster of wrestlers is spot on this time around. Events in the WWE have settled down and very few things have changed in recent months, resulting in a game that matches the TV show almost perfectly. The events of Shut Your Mouth mirror the happenings of the last year or so, and the story-led one-player season mode is now a lot longer than before, and more enjoyable to just bring it by a long way. But we're still a little disappointed by how quickly it becomes a bit samey, just hammering through episode after episode of similar matches, and watching disjointed, unrelated events from the last year played out once more. But it's away from season mode that Shut Your Mouth really comes alive. The overwhelming list of game modes, match types, and custom options is simply huge, offering an unprecedented choice for the wrestling fan to explore. Even the Create a Wrestler feature is outstanding, and a big leap over the DIY section of last year's Just Bring It. It's not visually perfect though, and wrestlers still disappear through each other and the floor quite a lot. The ropes move better but still carve through bodies at will, and the tables still disregard a few of the key laws of physics. But when the fighters look this good, it's all forgivable. SmackDown has never been the most technical game in the world. This isn't something for Virtua Fighter or Tekken experts looking for a new challenge. It's easier to counter moves this time around, but the bulk of your playing time will be spent maneuvering into position and pressing X as quickly as possible. Overall, this is a polished, accurate representation of today's loud and crazy WWE. It looks right, it's got the right people in it, feels right, and captures the WWE as it is right now. And on that point, Shut Your Mouth is a clear success.
You're gonna need me if we're gonna get out of this. Having trouble out there, old man? Sounds like you need a hand. Your choice, kid. Stick with me or die. Give me a couple of guns and I'm all yours.
Twin Caliber has to be one of the most wrist-shattering, headache-inducing games yet to hit PS2.
Let's get it on, Junior.
Despite being a cliche-ridden, on-the-rails shooter, it still manages to be undeniably fun, whilst introducing a whole new concept to shooting games. But first, the so-called plot. A local cult has managed to develop into a gang of mutant zombies, intent on the usual zombie pastimes. Finding himself trapped inside a prison, Sheriff Fortman is left with no option but to free the jail's one survivor, the captive maniac Valdez. Together, they must overcome their personal grievances and fight against the zombie hordes. Oddly inspired. The novelty comes with both of our protagonists being a bit handy with a gun in each hand. Each of the analog sticks controls one of your guns, and it's up to you to take down multiple targets at once. Whilst being mind-blisteringly hard when you first try, you'll have the hang of it by level 3. You'll have to, because you'll never finish level 3 without it. The hardware selection extends to a choice of long and short-range weapons, as well as the option for auto-reload rather than auto-targeting, as if anyone would stand a chance without the auto-load feature. Your other trick is to lob dynamite into the oncoming brain munchers, totally inaccurate, but very satisfying nonetheless. On the downside, the on-rails aspect can be a bit irritating at times, with our heroes making less than sensible choices on several occasions. It may not be the most innovative or intelligent game on the market, but it still manages to be highly enjoyable. And as you'd have hoped, multiplayer gaming is even more fun. With 2 characters each wielding 2 guns, you can really go to town. Kingdom Hearts is the result of an unlikely alliance between Squaresoft and the Disney Corporation. Assuredly a strange combination, but the end result is like nothing we've ever seen before, and all the more enjoyable for it. Squaresoft delivered the story and it shows, with a sprawling 40-hour quest featuring a complex Final Fantasy-style role-playing system. But it's a Disney game as well, and as such, features bundles of charm and character, as your quest to restore King Mickey to his throne takes you through all manner of instantly recognisable locations. The gameplay is an entertaining mix of third-person puzzle solving and platform hopping, with a healthy dollop of action-orientated combat thrown in to liven things up. Square have also changed their style a little to suit the lighter mood. Fights are in real time rather than the traditional turn-based systems, and a health bar replaces the usual hit point system, making the gameplay smoother. You can even summon various characters to help you in battle.
Come on!
Yes, it's all highly entertaining, but there are major flaws to be found. The camera system is highly infuriating, to say the least, resulting in scrappy and confusing combat sequences, especially when your companions, Donald and Goofy, start wading in to help you out.
Fire!
It also takes time to get going as well, which is worth bearing in mind while you trudge through the dismal tutorial section that fouls up the first half an hour of the game. But despite these problems, we love it. So the story's a bit contrived, but Kingdom Hearts looks fantastic, with some awesome animations and a great atmosphere. The sheer inventiveness and character throughout the game is utterly compelling, and makes for one of the most riveting experiences the PlayStation 2 has ever enjoyed. Where Jak and Daxter was platforming with a side order of adventuring, Ratchet and Clank is fighting with an extra portion of platforming. Ratchet is your guy, incidentally, while Clank is the metal sidekick, clinging to his back.
We won't fail you, sir. We promise.
Your objectives come in the form of missions, as you travel new worlds in a quest to collect nuts and bolts and save a whole series of planets. It's a variation on a pretty ancient theme, but it works well and we like it. The missions are never anything taxing enough to ruin the pace, consisting mainly of finding things and taking them somewhere else. But it's the style and imagination in the enemy design that's so engaging. They're cute without being lame, cartoony without being totally childish, especially as the game progresses and their attacks become more complex. The worlds are designed so that they feel more open than they really are. So although Ratchet and Clank is actually quite linear, it rarely seems that way. The stack of gadgets at your disposal adds more variety to the mix, letting you swing across certain voids, for instance, or have a go at simple yet engaging mini-game puzzles in order to hack electronic locks. You certainly can't fault the graphics either, which are insanely sumptuous. However, the respawn points are just too widely spaced. Failing to collect enough of the re-energizing blue orbs and taking too much damage can result in some lengthy bouts of step retracing. Ratchet and Clank is a beautiful looking, beautifully realised take on carefree platforming combat. Don't be put off by its kiddie looks, it's fun, and that's what matters. After such a long wait for Colin McRae to make his appearance on PS2, our enthusiasm started to slip. But thankfully, Colin McRae Rally 3 has that addictive something that made the first game so special. The main game now takes place over 3 seasons. For the first time, your car actually gets better as you progress, as the team develops new parts and better chassis. Although licensing issues mean that Colin's 2002 Ford Focus is the only actual WRC car in there, the other main cars are based on the road-going versions of the familiar Lancers and Imprezas. But there's no need to despair. Bonus vehicles stretch further than just the now familiar bundle of current cars, including such classic desirables as the Metro 6R4, Lancia 037 and Ford RS 200. The handling is superb too, letting you eke extra speed from every corner as you progress. New this time is Nicky Grist's stage-specific pace notes, all noted by the co-driver just as a real stage would be. And while it was always important you kept it out of the scenery, now it's crucial. The extremely detailed damage modelling may well look fantastic, but wrecking your car will also wreck your rally, as repairs can only be made at the end of a 3-stage day. What's more, your car's condition and the setup screens have been presented with even more style than before. It looks drop-dead gorgeous, and it carries on in-game too, well beyond the car models. As you see only 6 of the 8 countries per season, and as the stages are mixed up each time, it'll be a long time before you become totally familiar with any one piece of road. But the detailed pace notes, subtly responsive handling and challenging stage layouts mean they're a pleasure to drive either way. In short, Colin McRae Rally 3 is pure class. The lack of official opponents and their cars is regrettable, but your experiences throughout the various stages more than make up for it. It's superb.
4 left.
The great merchant ships with their cargoes of Arcturian solar crystals felt safe and secure. Little did they suspect that they were pursued by pirates.
Based on Robert Louis Stevenson's epic adventure of bloodthirsty pirates and buried treasure, Treasure Planet is Disney's latest attempt to create an animated feature that moves away from its traditional styling of talking animals and magical kingdoms. Instead, Disney has opted for a more futuristic feel, with spaceships and laser guns all wrapped up in a third-person platforming format. Sounds predictable, but all cartoon-based games obviously have to stick to this formula. It comes as some surprise then to discover that Treasure Planet is actually rather good. Admittedly, there's nothing new to the object collecting and bad guy pounding gameplay on offer here, but any self-respecting 10-year-old that enjoyed the film is likely to get a similar amount of fun guiding the heroic Jim Hawkins through a series of beautifully crafted levels. The graphics are slick and pretty, the difficulty level is perfectly set to entertain rather than frustrate, and the racing sections that pop up in between all the running and jumping are nicely presented and help break up the action. Groundbreaking in terms of originality, but surprisingly, Treasure Planet is a highly entertaining and accomplished game, albeit one that's squarely aimed at kids. Anyone over 12 will find it a tad simplistic.
And then gathering up their spoils, vanished without a trace.
FIFA Football 2003 finally lives up to bold claims of radical renovation, with a totally new and completely redesigned installment. Gone is the football glued to the player's foot, the ability to selfishly dribble from one end of the pitch to another, the basketball scorelines and the mindless automatic passing, to be replaced by a much freer, flowing game of football. It's a massive improvement over all of the previous FIFA games, but still not without its flaws. Opposing strikers have been blessed with stunning incompetence, while goalies have superhuman ball-stopping abilities. FIFA 2003 leaves you with a disappointing feeling of randomness. Indeed, when you finally manage to score, you'll wonder if it was your skill or whether the computer just decided to be charitable for a change. Visually, it's a bit of a disappointment too. Up close, the players look impressively lifelike and move with fluid realism, but zoom the game out to a playable camera position and things start to turn ugly. When compared to the clinical clarity and crispness of Pro Evolution Soccer 2, FIFA 2003 looks murky and indistinct. Definitely the best FIFA out there, but that's not really saying much when it's still languishing in the Nationwide League in comparison to PES2's Premiership class. Boxing games tend to be simple tests of button-pressing stamina, but Rocky adds a large amount of technique to the formula. It looks great and plays nice. Being based on the film immediately gives this an advantage over other fight games, with a whole ready-mix bag of atmosphere and familiar faces dumped in the ring. All 5 of the variously aged Rockies from the movies are in, with another 29 or so famous and not so famous boxers from the films. Stepping out to the familiar tune in movie mode takes you back in time to the 25th of November 1976, the start of Rocky's rise through the boxing legend against local no-hoper Spider Rico. After each successful pro bout, you're taken to the training room and given the option of working on key areas of your man's speed and stamina to improve for the next bout. After your Philadelphia beginnings, it's on to full 15-round war against Apollo Creed in a recreation of the climax of Rocky 1. Win that, and your fighter morphs into an older man, and your career starts afresh at the start of Rocky 2. The overall play system is simple and effective, and surprisingly, strategy matters in Rocky, which is rare for boxing games which tend to rely on pure pad-mashing speed. There is an element of speed punching to the play, but a skillful swerve and counter puncher will usually emerge victorious. Boxing games will never present the same level of technical challenge as your Virtua Fighters or Tekkens of this PlayStation world, but Rocky gets extremely close to matching many of the bigger name fight games in terms of style, playability and pure pugilist power. Definitely the best new boxing game to hit PS2. from being the greatest action blockbuster of all time, Blade 2 did manage a fast-paced barrage of violence and gore. And surprisingly enough, Activision has opted for a straightforward, old-school walkthrough beat-em-up for its video game adaptation. There's plenty to enjoy about Blade 2, and the developer has also chosen to integrate a unique fighting system, using the right analog controller to perform kicks and punches in any direction. It's an interesting method, but one that only partially succeeds. The collision detection is a touch erratic for starters, with occasional kicks ghosting through the blood-hungry soldiers. The multi-directional movement feels restricted, even on analog control, which also frustrates matters.
Keep your friends close. Keep your enemies closer.
Other than the weighty selection of punches, kicks and combos, you can bring a wide selection of weapons along for the fun. This system does work well and flawlessly integrates with the martial arts to give you a useful arsenal of hand-to-hand combat and weapon maneuvers. The guns can only be sparingly used, however, which means you're forced to develop your fighting skills. Although smooth and perfectly competent, the visuals don't really capture the dense urban setting so prevalent in the movies. What are quite amusing, if morally dubious, are the close-ups of various special death moves. In this limited display of vicious ferocity, you can brutally slice and dice your enemies using the eponymous sword of the title. It's one of the game's few moments of pure Onimushi-esque madness, and it's all the better for it. It's decent, unsubtle slaying, but whether Blade 2 will last the distance is dubious. It's certainly good fun for a while, but it lacks the variety in developing game structure to make a classic.
Keep your friends close. Keep your enemies closer.
Make a big noise playing in the street, gonna be a big man someday, you got...
Pro Evolution Soccer 2 is a religion here at PSW, for one simple reason. Nothing else comes close to recreating the passion and emotion of the beautiful game. It's why we've been looking forward to Pro Evolution 2 more than the second coming of Christ. Everything that irked about Pro Evolution Soccer has been fixed, and everything else has been polished and tweaked to insane levels of footballing excellence. The biggest improvements have been lavished on the players' movements. Your squad of nimble-footed superstars will now respond immediately to your every button press, making those glorious weaving runs a genuine possibility. But the real genius of Pro Evolution 2 is the way every attack feels totally unique and the action evolves organically without any contrived sense of set paths to victory or scoring sweet spots. Pro Evolution 2 constantly surprises with unexpected incidents of pure chance that astonish and infuriate just like the real thing. And the atmosphere has been enhanced with much improved commentary from Peter Brackley and Trevor Brooking. Master League is one of the areas where PES2 has excelled immeasurably over previous versions. There are now 3 divisions with playoffs for promotion and cup competitions running concurrently with the leagues. There's even a new extreme difficulty setting for PES veterans, and in answer to the complaints of many of our readers, up to 8 players can now take part in Master League games. No area has been left untouched by the developers in their endeavours to make Pro Evolution 2 the ultimate footy game. Free kicks have been made more difficult, which is a bit of a shame as we felt they had the balance just right in the first outing, and the old problem of players refusing to come towards the ball, allowing the opposition to nip and steal possession, still exists. But these are minuscule gripes that in no way spoil the overall experience. Pro Evolution Soccer 2 is as close to perfection as you'll get right now on PS2. It really is a beautiful game. You can spot a Sega-inspired game a mile off. They're generally very short, easily completed, but vastly entertaining on the way there, and Gungrave is no exception. It's also packed full of violence, but it's cartoon violence, so that's alright. This simple arcade shooter may be distressingly short, but what it does well. The hero runs around blasting everything that moves, and occasionally opens up with a special missile attack, a new one of which is gained at the end of each level. And that's just the thing for any annoying opponents who decide to keep their distance. If it comes to melee though, nothing beats a coffin. It's highly satisfying to watch all the fittings being wiped out in the bigger blasts, with shrapnel, rubble and dead bodies being flung around like someone switched off the gravity in a war zone. There really is a staggering amount of destruction. But whilst it's never short of some action, there's no real encouragement to play again. There are a few trinkets to unlock, but nothing spectacular. The only real reason to return to the fray is to get better scores. And with the thing being so easy in the first place, that's just not going to cut it. It's quick and it's easy, but there are many good things that fit that mould. Whilst Gungrave is hardly value for money, it is an absolute riot of fun and destruction while it lasts. It's time for a bit of monkey business, and Ape Escape 2 is here and ready to provide. But is it just Pokemon with monkeys? And is that necessarily a bad thing? As with its predecessor, the goal is to collect monkeys using your high-tech interdimensional monkey net. But you probably worked that one out for yourself. In order to do this, our hero, Hikaru, complete with a baby monkey companion on his shoulders, has a variety of monkey tools. These include his ever-versatile stick, the invaluable monkey radar, and the difficult-to-control but fun-to-use banana boomerang. The game features tutorials for all these items, letting you play through special training stages for each one. Plus, you can also seek help from your female counterpart via phones throughout the level. Ape Escape 2 is obviously targeted at the younger minds. It's packed full of personality with bright, colourful graphics, smooth, clean animations and plenty of humour. Just watching the antics of the monkeys avoiding capture is highly entertaining. And to encourage your monkey collecting activities, every monkey has a name, description and stat page which can be viewed once they've been captured. Very Pokemon. It may be reminiscent of the original game, but it now comes with shiny new PS2 power behind it. And despite its obvious ploy to capture our hearts, we still love it. After all, you can't go wrong where monkeys are involved. This awesome slice of demon denting from the masters of survival horror impressed everyone with stunning environments, fantastic animations, and its merciless approach to demon twatting. Dante has only basic weapons and attacks available to him from the start, and must harvest the soul-like red orbs that float from the disintegrating forms of victims to purchase more abilities and powerful items. And these abilities aren't just there to make things look nice. Dispatching the legion of enemies with style and flair fills up the letters beneath the life bar and gives access to the devil mode. Switch to this and Dante goes larger with bigger, louder and faster attack moves. Aside from sweeping sword action and juggling hell's finest over your head with repeated pistol shots, new weapons are to be found, including the awesome devil arms, which provide a flurry of Tekken-style attack combos. And you've never seen enemies as great as these. If the incredible detailing and animation fails to impress you, the sheer scale of the creatures surely will. The game starts easily enough, with bizarre marionettes and sin scissors, but soon ramps up to boss-like entities. The giant arachnid Phantom delivers magical attacks with lightning speed and summons the dead in the form of giant fire pillars. And then, of course, there's Angelo Nero. You must fight Nero at several points in the game, as he orbits close to the center of the game's story. Eventually, several of the bigger enemies make multiple appearances, and they only get tougher as they get more annoyed at you. With all this stylish and amazingly fluid action on offer, Devil May Cry is one of Capcom's greatest. Forget Resident Evil and the whole survival horror scene, this is all new and it's simply the best game on PS2.
Let's rock, baby.
Devil May Cry.
From the start, Evolution Studios has tried to create a potential rally winner with stunning graphics to match television coverage of the real WRC event. But can it deliver on this ambitious dream? As you'd expect, all the cars, teams and drivers from the World Rally Championship are present, including the brothers McRae, Richard Burns and multiple champion Tommy Mäkinen. The 4 main modes of play extend across more than 70 stages, which are divided among 14 rallies, and take in time trial, single rally, championship and 2-player. Dotted between these are 5 head-to-head super special stages, double loop tracks where you can actually race against an opponent rather than just the clock. Each course provides a noticeably different challenge, and not just because of the local weather. Every surface has different characteristics, so there's plenty to get to grips with as you make your way through various hot, freezing, or just plain drizzly countries. No rally game is complete without damage, and WRC has the most impressive damage modelling system, affecting more than just the aesthetics of your vehicle. Steering damage is particularly noticeable, making the end of the stage even harder to reach and inviting even more collision along the way. At worst, WRC is simply going to be no different to previous rally games, rather than significantly worse. The controls are well balanced, the handling is challenging yet predictable, and Evolution Studios has done well in capturing the essence of the terrain in each country too.
100 left 5.
The much-vaunted ability to head off into the wild polygon on yonder seems to have been flawed with the timeout feature. Head off track and you've got 3 seconds before you're reset on the road. So what was the point of making it navigable in the first place?
Left 3. 50, very long, left 3. Into, right 4.
According to this, your track record for spreading evil is pathetic.
Uka Uka, it's not our fault that Richard Bandicoot is to blame.
Crash Bandicoot Wrath of Cortex delivers a gorgeous, restrained 3D environment, filled with beautiful high-resolution graphics and more gameplay elements than ever before. The plot is as simplistic as ever, with Crash's arch-nemesis Cortex dedicating his time to taking over the world. To achieve this, he's built himself a genetically engineered super creature, eloquently named Crunch. This monster is not at all fond of our favourite Bandicoot, but does require energy to function. So Crash and friends are out to gather up all the power sources before he can use them. To complicate the issue, all of this commotion has woken the gods, who are causing all manner of havoc into the bargain. There are over 30 levels to jump, spin and dodge your way through. And for the first time, you can fill the shoes of Crash's sister, Coco. This pair get to play with a whole new fleet of vehicles, with Crash taking to the skies with gliders and helipads, scooting about in a jeep and piloting mechs and subs. Coco shows off with her mini scooter, snowboard and even a starfighter. As you can see, the visuals are as attractive as ever, with some lovely animations, even just watching Crash idle around waiting for you to do something. It may be simple, it may be light-hearted, but you can't have intense drama and action all the time. Sometimes you just need to relax and play something fun for a change. Naughty Dog managed to breathe new life into the platform genre, losing all the precision jumps and infuriating reaction tests usually associated with such games. Jak and Daxter is genuinely good fun to play and a joy to behold. You take on the role of the quiet Jak, whose mouthy friend Daxter has managed to get himself transformed into the form of a weasel by falling into some brown sludge known as Dark Eco. Now, with Daxter perched on your shoulder, making amusing asides the entire time, you have to search out the ancient sage and Dark Eco expert, Vol.25.
Scrounged enough orbs to trade for a power cell. Let's get back and make the switch already.
And find out more about this sinister plague upon your once fair land.
Good work.
The world itself is fantastic. There are no frustrating load times, and if you can see an interesting looking structure in the distance, then you can certainly go over there and have a poke around.
I can't seem to catch a single fish in this river.
Ooh, maybe it's your breath.
You're almost there.
You needn't worry about having to trek across vast distances, as there are various vehicles to get you from place to place, if you can only get them running. The quest can be completed as you see fit. Spending precursor orbs that you find lying around and talking to the various characters who inhabit the world opens up the new areas for you.
Look, old man, are you gonna keep yapping, or are you gonna help me out of this mess?
I'm gonna keep yapping.
And then you can scour them for all the necessary pickups and bonuses. There are also numerous sub-games to play, all of which provide a fresh challenge.
Watch your back! Off your face, Daxter. The two of you have plenty to do. Get on with it.
It's an ambush, Jak! It's an ambush!
I couldn't help you if I wanted to.
What?
The principles are classic and simple in their implementation, but it's all done perfectly and without the usual irritations that platform games usually invoke. If it's pure and simple fun you're looking for, then Jak and Daxter are sure to entertain.
There's only one person who has studied Dark Eco long enough to have a chance at returning you to your previous form. Carl Acheron, the Sage. But he lives far to the north. Far, far to the north.
Hawk's Pro Skater 3 genuinely offers something new over the previous title. This time around, Activision has thrown a story in, and each level has a separate theme, transforming the play and opening up new locations to further the challenge as you progress. And so it continues, but with heaps of trickery thrown in to expand on the usual selection of mini-games and repetitive challenges. These missions vary for each skater too, depending on their style. An aerial mad boarder will be presented with more in the way of ups and overs to beat, while a ground-based skater gets more in the way of low-level grinding. The levels are rammed with trickable features, moving people and vehicles too, with bonus points being issued as you perform for idling pedestrians. Tricks are more plentiful than ever before, with several key tweaks to the system. Most noticeably the ground skills, which have been revised to allow more moves to be pulled off while on flat ground, providing instant relief for those dull journeys between ramps. Gorgeously smooth and insanely fast, Tony Hawk 3 is exactly how PS2 games are supposed to be, and plays as brilliantly as ever. Unsurprisingly, there's a great improvement in the animations and the quality of detailing, and if you've played the previous two games and think that a third outing would be more of the same, then you're wrong. Quite simply, it's one of the best games ever.
Fools, but that's the way I like it, baby. I don't want to live forever. And don't forget the Joker.
Go!
X's on your neck. That's appropriate since you're looking at 3 strikes. Grand Theft Auto, reckless endangerment, and that little bridge stunt of yours. But if you do what I want, I'll make all your criminal transgressions go away. You get the chance to pay back Uncle Sam for all the freedom you enjoy.
Well, I like this.
Vin Diesel is the new breed of secret agent.
I wish I had a video camera! This is gonna be one hell of a trick.
Vin Diesel is Triple X.
The things I'm gonna do for my country.
I used to lie in bed and imagine other cities, other jobs I could have. I wish there was a story about me.
Thank you for shopping at Retail Rodeo.
What are you doing?
What I'm doing is called Cirque du Face, meaning Circus of the Face, and it's all the rage with Frenchies.
Do you like it?
My husband, he's a painter. He talks, but he doesn't think.
I wonder what it'd be like to be a woman.
If I was a woman, I'd be a lesbian.
As a girl, you see the world like a giant candy store. But one day, you look around and see a prison.
Justine, you like working at the retail rodeo, don't you? You wouldn't want to jeopardize all that by making some silly error in judgment, would you?
What's wrong with you? You look like death. How it all came down to this, only the devil knows.
I want to love you madly.
What you reading?
Catcher in the Rye. I'm named after it.
What's your name? Catcher?
I'll knock your head open and see what's inside. Hey, Justine, have you ever been to a Bible study? We're about loving Jesus.
Yeah, I kind of like my nights to myself.
Well, maybe you'll have night after night of eternal hellfire all to yourself.
I've never worn anything so bad.
I don't want to hurt anybody.
Dear Justine, be with me, body and soul. Meet me after work.
Justine!
I will be waiting outside Chuck E. Cheese.
I'm getting all goosey. I like having a secret.
What are you doing in there? Doohickeys turning blue. What's that mean?
I'm pregnant.
Oh, right! I saw you, Justine.
We can leave all this behind.
You are not married.
Don't you love me at all?
I'm starting to think you don't get me.
I closed my eyes and tried to peer into the future. Is this your last best chance? Are you gonna take it?
The Good Girl.
What do we think? We like it here?
Fine. Are we moving again?
No.
She changed her identity.
I like this.
But nothing could protect her from the most dangerous man she's ever known. Her husband.
I want you back. It'll be just like it was.
You can't run forever, Slim.
Why not? I'm good at it.
How about the windows in your apartment? Are they still locked? Just go crazy thinking about stuff like that.
Hi, Gracie.
Gracie!
Now, love is a scary thing. How powerful it is, what it does to you.
The cops can't help you. No one can help you. He's going to keep on coming until he kills you.
You have a divine animal right to protect your own life and the life of your offspring.
You ready?
Yes.
So how do you win?
I attack.
And what do you do after you attack?
I never stop attacking. Self-defense is not murder. Scared?
Of what?
Me.
$4,200 square feet, 4 floors.
Hardwood floors throughout, as many as 6 working fireplaces.
Oh God, it's huge.
Yes, I don't know if you have live-in help.
No. It's just the two of us. Is this room smaller than it should be?
You're the first person to notice. On Caravan, no one from our office had the slightest idea.
It was supposed to be the safest room in the house, but when 3 burglars come looking for a hidden cache of money, a mother and daughter find themselves fighting for their lives.
It's called a panic room.
Well, Meg and Sarah are starting their new life recently. Meg is recently divorced, and there's a little bit of bitterness and antagonism between the two of them, trying to figure out how to make their way. On the very first night in their very first house alone, bad guys come in. This house happens to be equipped with a panic room. This eccentric millionaire had built this panic room so that if anybody came, i.e. his descendants came perhaps to steal his money or something like that, he could protect himself. So Meg and Sarah find themselves in this panic room defending themselves against these bad guys that are intent on getting in. The wonderful thing about this movie is that it starts out as a very calm film, and little by little, as each character gets more and more desperate, the film accelerates more and more, and people start making crazy and foolish decisions, just out of fear and out of wanting to survive. And working with Fincher is, you know, it's an interesting process, because I don't think there's anybody that I've ever worked with, and I've made quite a few films, but I've never worked with anybody who's as meticulous and anybody who's as much of a wizard technically. He is truly the most technically proficient director I have met or will ever meet in my career. And so it was just a great learning experience. I feel like I learned so much from him. The nice thing about our movie was that we actually shot the entire film in sequence, so that everything happened exactly as it happens in the film. We got to shoot from beginning to end.
And car.
Normally, the idea of a panic room is it's a place that will make you feel safe. It's a place you can go into that will keep all the bad people out. But in this case, the bad people want in really badly.
What we want. What we want is in that room.
So it's more about the panic room takes on a much more darker kind of tone.
Packed full of pathos, A Beautiful Mind tells the heart-tugging story of a schizophrenic's triumph in the face of adversity. Russell Crowe puts in an impressive performance as Princeton maths boffin John Nash, desperately trying to come up with the one original idea, which he eventually finds in the form of his very special contribution to game theory.
Adam Smith needs revision.
What are you talking about?
If we all go for the blonde, We block each other. Not a single one of us is going to get her. So then we go for her friends. But they will all give us the cold shoulder because nobody likes to be second choice. But what if no one goes for the blonde? We don't get in each other's way, and we don't insult the other girls. That's the only way we win. That's the only way we all get laid. Adam Smith said, the best result comes from everyone in the group doing what's best for himself, right? That's what he said, that's right? Incomplete. Incomplete. Okay? Because the best result would come from everyone in the group doing what's best for himself and the group.
Ash, this is some way for you to get the blonde on your own. You can go to hell. Governing dynamics, gentlemen. Governing dynamics. Adam Smith. What's wrong?
Yep, here we go. Careful, careful.
Thank you. When we first meet him, he's very self-protective, and his concept was to search for a truly original idea, you know, or the governing dynamics, as he likes to call it, you know. So not just an idea, not just, you know, a certain, not just a concept, but something that is so blindingly, probably simple, is what he was looking for. One of those things that's been right in front of everybody's face for hundreds of years that nobody else actually saw clearly.